Hi everyone, good morning. I thought I would share a few thoughts on releasing heavy emotions that may be helpful for some of you. It's challenging to see some of what's happening around us in our world. It's this real contrast between, hope for a new earth and a better way of living, and then if we read the newspaper or check the headlines, we can see a lot of dystopian type stuff that's coming down the pipeline. So I thought there's a few things that I picked up on when I kept checking my own inner guidance and then in the Akashic records. And one of them was a very strong message for me, and I'm sure maybe this is true for a lot of you, to just turn off the news. Do not check the headlines. Because even though I used to check the headlines just to see what's going on, and I wanted to just, stay on top of what people in the 3D world are experiencing. But because there's so much fear and separation and division that is just even just a simple five letter headline, my guys have said don't do it for a little while because it was affecting me and I was just getting angry really and just disbelief from how can people be buying into this. And a lot of that's coming from my local newspaper in the city of Portland, Maine. So, it's not real local to me anymore, but one of the major ones somewhat near me. So, don't read it because you'll get, if something major happens, you'll hear about it. A lot of us are on social media, we hear about it anyway. But the headlines are really designed to carry a vibration of fear and anger. And the other thing that I was being shown was, it's like a lot of us want to know, like, who's behind this? We want to blame somebody. And it can be easy to look at certain, figures that are always, the talking heads popping up or people running different governments and to blame them. But it's not as simple as that from what I was shown. What I was shown is something like a loop. And if you imagine, that the loop of there's people that are, that may be telling us to do certain things that we don't agree with and that are, creating segregation and just bigotry really and discrimination and a feeling of us versus them, which is what they've always done. But the reason it's like that, the people that are feeding into that energy, they're just responding to the collective. So what I was being shown is that type of energy actually goes up around and it's fed by us, by any emotions of fear and anger can feed that. And of course it goes much beyond that. There's like this consciousness, this low vibrational consciousness, extra planetary, that is behind a lot of this. But in the Akashic records, they don't want us to think of it that way because it's all about us taking back our own responsibility for what we can do to change this. And so what breaks that loop, that loop of the fear and anger that's fed upon itself, that we can help feed with our own emotions, because that's how it works, it fuels it. Love. I always talk about it, it's like, oh, love, but it really is. And what is love? What are the expressions of love? Compassion, empathy, trying to understand how people are in this state. Forgiveness, all those things, joy. I've said to my husband that I only watched part of this video that was going around called Mass Psychosis. And it's an explanation of what's happening to a lot of people who are good people. And they certainly believe they're good people, right? And they are innately good. They want to do the right thing. They believe they're doing the right thing. But what's actually happening, as a lot of you know, is it's not rooted in goodness. But how did people get to this place? And I said to my husband, well, I want to understand a little more about what's happening in people's brains, to have more empathy for them, because I do. It's a lot of them. It's not their fault. Sometimes I get to that place of, well, when they're making choices to, exclude people to discriminate people, at what point, and we've certainly seen this in history, in the 1930s in a certain European country, at what point do you hold those people accountable? Like, this is wrong. This is just ethically and morally wrong. It's not the same thing, because, we are dealing with a disease that can be harmful to certain people. And it's like, anyway, we won't go into all that, but they put us in a really, tight spot, because it's, well, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to filter myself. It's when you release the supposed vaccine and experimental gene therapy, it mutates, and it actually feeds upon the spike proteins. I believe, this is my theory. I'm not a doctor. And that's what we're seeing, is these mutations that wouldn't have been there if you hadn't released this in the middle of a pandemic. So anyway, so what we're seeing is a lot of people, they don't know what to do. They believe, and it's an optimistic way to approach the world, that the news and the people that are in, control of certain things are the ones that are trying to help, that they're trying to help them. And so they don't know what else to do, so they listen to what they tell them to do. And if you think about it, and it's like, well, what else are they supposed to do? It's like it's this feeling of helplessness, and it's not sure who to trust. And so that's a very scary place to be. So when we can understand that that's where a lot of people are, then it can lead to a little more compassion. And that is, it's hard, it's challenging to do this, because when then all these mandates come out, it's hard to, we want to fight. My guidance is to not fight, is to simply avoid going to those places. And if I have to go to places that have mandates, which some of them I just really will definitely avoid, but there's a few times when I have to do it for certain things. And so my guide said, just do it for that moment. It's really the mask thing, right? That's not the same as injecting something in my body. And just do it for that moment, and then you can leave and not, try to avoid it. But they were showing me you're just kind of a chameleon. You're fitting in that 3D world, because for me, at least, the vibration of fighting, of, resisting, creates a negative feeling in my body, and that doesn't serve me, and that doesn't serve the collective either. So if we remember that love, all these expressions of love, and again, this is what feels right for me. I certainly am grateful for people who are speaking up. I speak up, but I think it's really important when we do speak up, we speak from a place of love and truth, and and of course sovereignty, but all from a place of love, not anger. That's really important, because in order to break this loop, in order to snap the circuit, love breaks that loop. It can't feed on itself if we come from that place of love. So the other thing I wanted to say was, when we're, this can be easier said than done, because there's a lot of anger. It's hard to kind of be like, oh, everything's going to be fine, when, you're being told you can't go places anymore, or just out of disbelief at how people are, doing this. And I certainly been through that. And what I've done for myself, what I recommend for you all, is to really release those emotions. You need to physically get them out of the body. So the other day I went snowshoeing, and I just started running. I was just running with my snowshoes on, and I just kept running and running and running. And it was hard, but it reminded, and I'm picking up these heavy things, but it reminded me of what it kind of feels like we're picking up our feet over and over and over again. But my blood, my heart rate was getting high, was elevating in a good way. My blood was pumping, and I was releasing those endorphins. I was doing some cardiovascular exercise, which is really, really important to release the energy. And I could feel just the stuff being released. Tears, I let myself cry when I'm just so sad about what's around us, what we're seeing. Certainly, there's angels. When you look at statues of angels, and throughout human history, when they've seen tragic things like we're seeing today, they weep for us. It's normal to weep, to be sad for what's for how so sad that you see humans put in this position. And it's just a sad situation. So, there's hope, but let's just say that this is the human emotions that we feel. So it's really important to release the emotions. Scream into a pillow, just punch something, like punch anything you can find that is soft, isn't going to hurt you. Just get the emotions out. They need to leave our bodies. If they don't leave our bodies, and we can just simmer in that anger, and that comes out as irritability towards other people in our lives, it's really important to clear them and release them. And then, of course, coming back to that place of centeredness, of light, hope, Remember that this has been predicted. This is how people awaken. They have to see the darkness. And so what the other piece that I've been given as guidance is just let it happen. Let the darkness be seen. Let it all come to the surface. And we just try to hold space for the humans that are awakening as they see this darkness. For some people, it takes a lot for them to see, and we just pray that they don't harm themselves or their children to a deep extent because of what they're injecting in themselves, and just pray that especially for children, that their light will help cleanse and purify. There certainly are detoxes if you've done this, experimental gene therapy and you want to heal yourself. There's ways to do it. I can share a few detox protocols that I've shared with some people, so it's not too late. But certainly, continuing to inject could be very harmful. Again, don't listen to me, but there's a lot of evidence that we've already been seeing. It's heartbreaking. We don't want anybody to die or be chronically ill or have diseases come up years from now that nobody will really know. That a lot of people won't connect it to this, but it'll certainly be why. So having said all that, it's funny when I do these videos, I know there's some people who listen who don't like hearing this. It's hard because you don't want to, believe that you're being lied to. You don't want to think that you're being tricked. And so if that's you, I have full compassion for you. And I just ask you just to see if there's part of you that feels that there's something to this. I think we can get triggered when we hear things that contradict our worldview. It can be very hard to shift our worldview. So having said all that, the best way to cope is also to hold out hope and focus on the beauty around us, nature. This is how people awaken. This is how we shift consciousness. We just let it burn. Let the barn burn to the ground, and then we'll build a new one. It's a peeling off. That's the last thing I'll say. They're showing that that we move to 5D consciousness, we're peeling off from the 3D. Which think about peeling off. It's like peeling off a Band-Aid or peeling off a sticker that's been stuck to something for a while. It's not necessarily an easy process. It takes some time. So that's what we're doing. We're gradually disengaging. We're removing our energy from these things, from anything that creates fear and anger and division. Just remove your energy. Avoid it. Don't look at it. Don't be around it. Yes, sometimes, of course, we need to. If there's family members who are still in 3D, we want to send them love and compassion. But we'll find, or friends, that we'll find that we just, gravitate towards those who are in the same vibration as us. So, all right, that's all I'm going to say for today. If you're interested in joining some of us for a retreat, I'm going to be doing a retreat called Embody Your Highest Self. It's a winter retreat in March with Cheryl Horton. And we're going to just do all of this. We're going to do some emotional release through painting, through art, and creating our visions for how we want to be in this 5D earth. We'll do a raw cacao ceremony. We'll do some hypnotherapy, connecting with an archangel to help us take steps towards becoming our highest and best self. We'll do some hypnotherapy. Did I already say that? Anyway, so check out the link if you're interested. Many blessings. Much love. Bye.